Hello, I'm going to be talking about the ways that narcissists are dangerous. The number one way narcissists are dangerous is they will twist things you said. They will quote you out of context of a sentence. They will say you said something you never said. They will say you did something you never did. Basically, they are masters at creating make-believe stories about you as you being the villain, and they are always the victims. This is what makes them dangerous, because they always create victimized life scenarios with the people around them, and they like to quote people out of context, twist things, twist scenarios, and portray people as oftentimes people that they're not. They gaslight the target's mind, and they will say things like, that never happened. We never said that. I never said that. He was just joking. We're sorry you misunderstood. This is called undermining somebody mentally and emotionally. And the more that narcissists do this to their target, undermine the emotions and the reality of their target, the more their target begins to self-doubt and the more emboldened the narcissists become. This gaslighting. In gaslighting, they're able to trick their targets into thinking that everything in a situation is their fault. They're able to get their target to break with reality so they can then superimpose a new reality, not only into their target's mind, but also into their listeners' minds. So then they will even move to the point of something known as gaslighting by tribe, or tribal gaslighting, where they have pushed out a lie and they can get other people to believe the lie through gaslighting. Gaslighting, which is messing with somebody's head and mind so that somebody breaks with reality, subscribes to another reality, so that the abusers become in charge. They are now in charge over reality because they've been able to break their target. So that's part of what makes them so dangerous. Number one, they can quote you out of context, say you said things you never said. Number two, gaslighting, right? Number three, they have to win. They are masters at engineering framing games against people, against their targets, to leave their targets looking like the bad ones so that they can look like the ones who did nothing wrong. And so they will exploit their target's weaknesses and their target's strengths. So their target's weaknesses or vulnerabilities in a situation, that's very juicy for them. Yeah. And they will also exploit your strengths. So anything about you that is good, they're going to be exploiting that too and twisting it to make it look like that's not actually a strength, that's a weakness. So they're able to pretty much annihilate you on every level, smear. So they cannot self-reflect. So we're very self-reflective usually, which is why so many of us have become victims of narcissistic abuse, is our self-reflection. And we play right into their hands often because we're on the hamster wheel trying to make the situation better. If I just humble myself more, how can I please them? Obviously, I'm still not pleasing them. And the hamster wheel is a cycle. It's a vicious cycle until they can break us through gaslighting and so forth. So narcissists have to win. That makes them dangerous because they will do whatever it takes to win. They don't have a moral compass. They will break with morality and what most people consider ethical in order to win. They don't care if they have to rewrite scripts, if they have to rewrite reality, or say you said something you never said or did something you never. It doesn't matter. They have to win. So they engineer framing games so that when something comes out, they look good and you look really bad. It's all a setup. They're great at sabotage. Okay, Number 4, they love pulling and enjoy pulling the rug out from underneath people. So narcissistic people like using the element of surprise. This is what makes them dangerous, using this element of surprise. It's this, we'll just wait till the truth comes out of you, or I'll blow this whole thing up. And you're sitting there like, huh, what? Like, what's going on? Well, they're using the element of surprise on you. They're catching you off guard because they've already set you up and you don't know you're being set up. See, the smears on individuals who have gone through narcissistic abuse, the entire process of narcissistic abuse, down to the smear campaign, character assassination and stuff, they are setting the stage for a character assassination. So they've already set it up. They've already rigged the narrative, so to speak, and you don't realize that it's been rigged. So, you know, anything you have done to help that narcissist, you've covered for them. If you've done anything that's helped them out, they will then pull the rug out from under you and they will flip it on you because they have set you up in the background and you don't realize you are being set up. This is very heartbreaking and traumatizing for people that were like, why would you do that to someone? Like, what is that? Why would you do that? And you continue. And what's so interesting is while they're doing this, the amount of contempt and hatred they have for you it's sort of astounding. You're sitting there thinking, so you just set me up, pulled the rug out from underneath me. You said something. You said I said something I never said, and you're attributing incorrect motives. I've done everything in the situation to be sensitive to you, and try to make sure I don't like upset you in any way or anybody else for that matter. And you have now deep contempt and hatred for me. So it's very mind-boggling because our minds can't really wrap around this type of what's going on in their heads. What is going on in their heads, which is what puts us on the hamster wheel where we're constantly trying to figure out what is going on in their heads. How can I make this right? And I must have done something to offend them. So that's the hamster wheel. And good luck trying to ever please them, because until you are laying completely flat and you are totally silenced, they will not be happy. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they like to accuse and assume. So I've never met more critical spirits than narcissistic people. They have very critical spirits. They are going to find out what everybody's mistakes are in a situation, and they're going to be writing them down. They'll leave out their mistakes and their flaws, and they'll do everything under the guise of love and care and the pity ploy. But their listeners don't realize is that they have done so much damage to the people, to the person they're targeting, their scapegoat, and even other people around them. Sometimes they've done damage to, because of their inability to negotiate matters in good faith. They do not communicate. So they create magical worlds of thinking. And they love to assume things. Their pride is, maximum pride. Maximum pride is what I'm talking about. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they destroy and infect the victim's self-identity. They destroy their victim's self-confidence. When we leave a narcissist, we no longer recognize ourselves. Narcissistic abuse is the annihilation of who we are on multiple levels: physical, spiritual, emotional. It's a complete annihilation of the true self of the target, because when you're in a dynamic with a narcissist, your true self and their false self are swapping places. That's what's happening. So you take on them, and they're trying to convince themselves that they're you. that they're loving and kind and cared about you and tried to be nice to you and blah, blah, blah. And it's actually not true. So this is what happens. A swap happens. The annihilation of who we are. So that's why it takes so long to heal and recover from narcissistic abuse. This is the deepest wound you can afflict on a person. Narcissistic abuse injures our brains because we understand, we can see what they're doing and how emotionally dishonest they are with themselves. I mean, you know they hate you, and yet they're putting on this show like they cared about you. You know there's a character assassination going on against you, or you eventually figure it out. People don't run character assassinations on people they love or they're not threatened by, right? Another thing that makes narcissists very dangerous is they view an apology as an admission of guilt. So if you apologize to a narcissistic person, they view that as an admission of guilt and are emboldened by that. Most of the time, we can sit down and we can apologize because we realize there have been mistakes on our part. We realize that maybe we have offended them and we're trying to make peace. But if you apologize to a highly pathological person, especially a malignant narcissist or covert narcissist, what you're going to find is that all they think is, yep, we were right and you're wrong. We're good and you're bad. That's how they think. They think in black and white. If you're apologizing to me, then you must have done something wrong, because they don't really apologize much. So we are often apologizing to make situations better, which that is just more fuel for them. So they can't see us as who we are in the situation. We're just supply for them. Another way that makes narcissists dangerous, another thing, is they are constantly seeking supply, okay? They are parasitical in nature. They love to use people. We are in their lives so they can feed off of us. So they can make this self-aggrandizing narrative for themselves and puff themselves up, and they're just feeding off of us and how hard we've tried to humble ourselves, to please them, to do whatever they wanted or said whatever they wanted. We even read our lines when when we really shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're saying sorry when we shouldn't be saying sorry, or we're admitting things we shouldn't be admitting. So it's all, we're just supply for them. So that way they can convince themselves they haven't done anything wrong in a dynamic, while they're constantly feeding off of you, and you're undoing, we're falling apart, and they're feeding off of that. Isn't that nice? Yeah, it's kind of gross, but once again, they have responsibility Teflon, and we have responsibility Velcro in situations. They are feeding off of our compassion, our self-reflective nature, our peacemaking skills, and perhaps even our overreactiveness or natural upsetness to their moral insanity and mistreatment within a dynamic. Another thing that makes narcissistic people dangerous is they love to punish people. This makes them dangerous because if you have done anything to slight them, they will seek your destruction to punish you. It could be something so minor, but it could be something big. Anything to slight them, and they will punish you. They will manipulate, lie, deceive the people around them so that it appears that you, in fact, are punishing them instead of them punishing you when you just tried to defend yourself from the attack. They are masters at making a situation look very, very differently than from what it was. Another way that they are dangerous is they will put you on the hamster wheel and create double binds for you so that you will never be able to please them. You exist to please them, or you do not exist at all. It is all about them. It is all about them. And they are going to make sure that everybody knows that. They're going to get everybody feeling very, very sorry for them because it was all about them. And so they have you on that hamster wheel trying to please them, do whatever they want, make them feel as comfortable as they can. And boy, you know, if you don't read their minds, and even if you do read their minds, and even if you do what they want, they will somehow make it look like you're not doing what they want, because they are trying to destroy you. They hate you. So that's how they think. You simply cannot lay down flat enough for a narcissist. Narcissists, they perk up. They get real happy when they hear what they want to hear, right? When you say what they want to, okay. So then they're happy, right? The minute you say something they don't want to hear, they're undone. They have to have their way. They're creating the script. You need to read your lines. You know, that's how it is. I don't know why exactly they're like this, but they are. Another thing that makes narcissists really dangerous is they have responsibility Teflon, and they use a tactic known as gaslighting. I've already mentioned this before, and they're able to make you feel like everything is your fault. This goes into a much larger scale, however, called gaslighting by tribe, which I've already mentioned, as they will triangulate and convince everybody around you, not only you, but everybody around you, that it was all your fault and everything is your fault. Okay? They simply cannot see you. You are invisible to them. You are just supply. They are feeding off of you so they can create this wacky narrative that they're going to try to push out as true. They are just using us. And their ultimate goal is to break their target and erase their target. Break them and erase them. And they actually can do that, because we aren't pathological. The majority of us who have been targeted by narcissistic or sociopathic people aren't pathological in nature. We don't know that people like this exist until we go through the experience, and then we're like, oh my gosh, what was that? Like, what? Our heads are spinning around, and what just happened to me? And why am I apologizing when I shouldn't be apologizing? Why have they broken me down so much? They want you on your knees, really. They want you caving to them and looking to them to be almost a savior. Okay, to be like a savior. They want us looking to them as that. But really, they're just bullies. They're bullies who are trying to beat up and break another person. So they don't have to admit to what they do to people in situations. They create two narratives often, especially sociopaths. Two separate narratives are going on. And so it's really mind-boggling. And if they are spiritual, you'll often hear them say things like, well, God this and God that. So they use God. You know, they use God, and once again, it's for a self-aggrandizing narrative, this narrative where they were victimized. And instead of seeing what they've done to you, I don't know if some of them can see it and some of them can't. If you're dealing with a malignant narcissist, they know what they're doing. But some of them don't even see what they're doing to you. And even if you were to tell them, they really don't care. And they would get angry. You can't tell them what they're doing to you. How dare you? How dare you feel hurt by them? They just cannot even consider they have done something wrong. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they lack empathy. It's very hard to see our friend, partner, parent, or sibling in pain. But watching them put us in pain, put us in distress, and seeing their enjoyment from it is like, huh? Like, you enjoy me being in pain? Yes, they do. They do. They're sadistic. They lack empathy and they're sadistic. They actually enjoy exploiting people. If they've done something to exploit you, don't expect them to feel sorry. They've justified it somehow. They mock us. They make fun of us. The lack of empathy on their part is generally quite astounding because the majority of people, when we see someone else in pain or feeling uncomfortable, want to do the necessary steps to make sure that person is no longer in pain or no longer feeling uncomfortable. And we usually feel sorry for the person who is in pain. But narcissists don't generally feel remorse. And they don't feel sorry for anybody but themselves. They just don't. It's all about them. Their world, their narrative, that's all that matters. They don't have any ability to see beyond that. And you do. You do. If you're a victim of narcissistic abuse, you're willing to hear their narrative. You're willing to step outside of yourself. Did I misunderstand anything? Did I, have I hurt somebody here? If I have hurt somebody, I'd like to say sorry. They don't even want to give you the dignity of doing that because they're dehumanizing you and they have dehumanized you. And that's why narcissistic abuse is like an annihilation of the self, as they are attacking your true self to create, their false self so they can swap places with you in a dynamic. It's really strange, but it happens. So at the end of a dynamic, the victim can often develop narcissistic traits just trying to survive the situation, which then the narcissist can say, see, he's the real abuser here, when you're just trying to pretty much survive as you've been taken advantage of, used, set up, and these people don't care about you. You know that. So that whole bubble of pretend love is just so gross to you. You're just like, give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, yeah. So anyway, narcissists generally don't feel remorse and they don't feel sorry, like I said, for anybody but themselves. If they exploited you once, they will exploit you again. There is no remorse for the things they do to you. I don't think they really feel sorry. They simply cannot see you as anything but something that is getting in their way from getting what they want. You need to read your script, take your lines, read your script. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be quiet. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they create victimized life scenarios where they are always the victims and the martyrs and the heroes in situations. They always portray themselves as martyrs. And it's hard when you're hearing how they portray themselves and you're sitting there like, oh, that wasn't my experience with them. I really think that there was some pretty underhanded motives there for a lot of the things they were doing. And I didn't experience this, how they're seeing themselves. You're not seeing it that way. But so even though they are abusive, controlling, and manipulative, and they gaslight, they will somehow create a narrative where they were martyrs and heroes who sacrificed for you and tried to be nice to you, or possibly even felt sorry for you, which I've already said, this is the lie narcissists push out, is this fake love stuff. It is a setup. If they've done anything nice to you, given you a gift, well, you better say thank you a lot, because if you don't, it's coming back to bite you. These people, they think that they are so entitled, oh, how much they did for you, right? They don't actually care for you at all. All of us victims, we intuitively know that this is just not true, okay? Every nice thing they do in a narrative is a prop to be used so they can later point to it and tell people that they were loving towards you so people won't be able to see or believe the abuse when you later try to explain it. This is why we're never believed. They have rigged the narrative. They have set you up. They know what they're doing in situations because they're master manipulators, master controllers. These people control everything. They control the narrative. They'll put things in writing, in emails even, to control the narrative. Well, we told her blah, 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 because we told her blah, blah, blah. And so they're trying to control how the narrative is perceived, but they're doing it way before a narrative even emerges, because they have the foresight to know this may eventually come out. So I am going to set this up so I can have control over the information I want coming out the way I want it coming out. That's how they think. And if you go in there, you scapegoat, and you suddenly start wagging your finger and you're like, no. Oh, they don't like that. They become undone. They can't handle that. They need their scapegoat back in there. That scapegoat that got away. Don't go back. If you're the scapegoat, don't go back and apologize. A lot of us, we walk away. We've been scapegoated. We walk away. We know our abusers are in pain, so we go back and we feel sorry for them. They don't care about us, guys. You're a scapegoat. They hate you. So I hate to say it, but that is what most of us have come to the conclusion of, is they're just using you. Another thing you will notice is they will not give you proper closure. This is another thing that makes them dangerous. They do not and refuse to give their target proper closure. They like to leave people cliffhanging. They know it's painful for us. They know we want a discussion. They know there's been misunderstandings, and they know they've even lied. But they don't want you addressing it with them. They don't want you to have closure, even though they know how giving you are and how much you would like to give them closure. But they won't give you closure. Why is that dangerous? Because once again, these people are sadists. They enjoy your pain, they enjoy your discomfort, they enjoy the win. They're not thinking about you. Their whole mentality is evolved around this maximum pride that they operate in, where they know everybody's motives. They know everybody what they meant when they said that, what they meant when they said that. They know everything, right? They know everything. Do they? No. But they're sure going to walk around like they do, and they're very convincing liars. Narcissists lie, straight looking at you lie. They're very, very convincing when they lie. So that's another thing. They stonewall. That makes them dangerous. They stonewall so that they can have power and control over all the information they want coming out the way they want it coming out. This is very different than no contact, which is usually initiated by the victim. But stonewalling is this idea of, I have the upper hand. I have enough information to make up a story that's not true, but I have enough now, in stonewalling you. I can, that's enough. I am the winner here, and you're not allowed to have a voice. It's such a, once again, a gross thing you can do to somebody. It's pretty much dehumanizing the person. They are better than you, and they want you to know that they are better than you. Narcissists always think they are right. They always view themselves as better than you. And they will make sure everybody else thinks that too, that they are so much better than you. They handled everything so well, and you didn't. And but people don't realize is what narcissistic people do throughout a situation is they use a lot of projecting. So while they're accusing, what they do is they're trying to swap identities with you in a narrative. So if you give them what they want, which is what they want is your reaction. They want you to react and become upset so they can use it against you, and they can switch places with you so that you look like the abuser and they look like the victim. But what has really happened is they've been abusing you for a lengthy period of time. Condescending comments, sarcasm, double binds, the hamster wheel effect where you just can't do anything right, setting, you're getting set up, pretending to love you, mocking you. You can feel the hostility in the air against you, and just this general feeling of they don't like you. And so they don't like you because you have, you know something, or you've seen something, or you understand something. Therefore, they have to silence you through a smear campaign. They often eventually run smear campaigns or character assassinations on people, so that, if you're presenting something, they run a character assassination on you so people won't believe you. And if they've been able to set you up in a situation, you probably won't be believed, because people don't understand what they can do to people. People don't understand how narcissists and sociopaths can get inside your head and control you. They can control you so that you are doing and saying whatever they want you to do and say. And they know that. They know this about you. And so they're setting you up in the background. These people are master manipulators. So this is what makes them dangerous. And what's interesting about them is they really feel that it's okay to do this to people. If you're dumb enough to go along with this and to, keep giving them more ammunition and keep going, breaking and falling apart and over apologizing, then you deserved it, right? I mean, if you're throwing your pearls to them, you throw your pearls to the swine, they're going to turn around and trample you. That's what narcissistic people do. They're looking for supply. You lied once? Oh, we're writing that down. But what they leave out is how many times they lied. Okay, so it's just they're writing up notes about you. It's a way of keeping score. Let's see everything our target did wrong. We're going to write it all down. Oh, yes. Oh, did you see that? Oh, and when she did this. Oh, and I know why she did this. So they're so interested in all your flaws and and then they don't even see who you are. It's just like, oh, she's so terrible. And did you, it's so weird. It's like, I'm not even this person they're portraying. Yes, I'm not that person, but they're very excited, all their notes. And then they leave out all the things you did right, by the way. It's crazy. And then they're writing down everything they did right, and they're leaving out everything they did wrong. It's a smear campaign or character assassination. So, and another way that they are dangerous is they love bomb. This is dangerous because it really, really messes with your head. A lot of us want the approval of the narcissist in our life, or narcissists if we're dealing with multiple. And so they're love bombing us to kind of keep us, okay, you're doing what I want. You're playing the right role for me. You're saying the right things for me, and I'll love bomb you. We like that feeling. We like the feeling of being like, I'm being approved of right now, and they're praising me in front of people. So we're being love bombed. And the minute we do anything that's interrupting this self-aggrandizing narrative they want to come out, they have more than contempt for us. Okay, so it's this love bombing, and then it's this devaluation, discard, contempt, love bombing. If we want you to say, if you do what we want you to do, we're okay with you, and we'll reward you. And so it's this kind of cycle that victim or target gets stuck in. Good little dog, good little puppy, or good little, girl for doing everything we said. Oh, you doing, oh, good job. But the minute, you go against it and you're like, wait a sec, blah, blah. Oh, they don't like that you are interrupting their script for you. You know what I'm saying? They don't like it. They want you to go along and conform, and they want to break you, which that is part of what makes them dangerous, is their desire to break you. Another thing that makes them dangerous is their ability to trauma bond us, which is very similar to what I was just talking about, which is love bombing. They can love bomb us, the love bombing trauma bond us as well. It's this kindness and cruelty mixed together. This makes them dangerous. Trauma bonding is, you're pretty much a prisoner to your abuser until they're willing to correct the narrative or set you free. So But you don't have to be a prisoner, but it feels like that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's that feeling of being a prisoner to them in a sense. But, you know, if you can get away or walk away or somehow get that script out of your mind, that replaced for a lot of us as we're trying to figure out what really happened there. What was that exactly? Another thing that makes narcissists dangerous is they manipulate people through tears. Yep. I have noticed this. Narcissists are really good at crying on demand. It's like, and I've seen it happen many times, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, did they just like, that's amazing that they can do that. And you know it's not always genuine. I'm not saying sometimes it's genuine. Of course it is. Everybody has grief and pain, including narcissists, okay? I don't want to like make them sound like they're human. They are, but they know how to manipulate through tears to get what they want from people, which is often pity. So another thing that makes them dangerous is you're not allowed to speak your truth. They define reality not based on what is true, but based on what they want to be true. And they are not interested in the truth. So if you try to correct them, they will come undone. They need reality to be what they have created reality to be, so that they can look like eternal victims instead of manipulators, bullies, and mean people who were using us to make themselves look good and you look really, really bad. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they believe their own lies. They really do. At a certain point for them, the lie becomes the truth because they've exchanged their false self with your real self. They've done a flip. And so in their minds, I believe a lot of them, except for maybe the really, really sophisticated ones who know exactly what they're doing, but I think a lot of narcissists, they believe their own lies. That's dangerous because that can hurt you. If they believe what they're saying about you and they really believe that they are good people. I mean, a lot of narcissists actually believe that they're good people, you know. They've been faithful. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't lie. They didn't cheat. They didn't steal. You know, they didn't do anything wrong, not them, you know. So if they've convinced themselves of this somehow, and with the other people around them, they're going to believe a lie. And because they don't know how to self-reflect in a situation. They don't have the ability, like many of us do, to self-reflect. They're not capable. It doesn't seem as if they're capable of doing that. They seem to be very emotionally dishonest with themselves, which is another thing that makes them dangerous. They're so emotionally dishonest with themselves, as I was saying, and that's why they believe their own lies. They actually believe that they were trying to be nice to you. And you're like, no, you really weren't. I kind of caught on to what was going on. And so, you know, if we, as the targets of this type of abuse, have in any way been hypocritical, in any way, you know, been emotionally dishonest in one sense, or we weren't, you know, had mixed motives for doing something, most of us are willing to come forward and say, yeah, you know what, I was wrong there, or whatever. But they use that as ammunition to hurt us, which makes them dangerous. You can't confess anything to them because they're writing it down to hurt you with it. This doesn't even make sense, especially, you know, if you're in a religious setting and this is going on. This is really gross. This is gross. And I keep using that word, but it's just not nice. You know, I mean, religious settings are supposed to be safe. And when they become unsafe because there's predators going after a person to try to destroy and annihilate in character assassination and use another person, I mean, that's crazy making. That's just not right. And a lot of these people in religious settings get away with it because they'll do some sort of spin on it, you know, instead of saying, you know what, we mistreated that person. We severely mistreated that person. We broke that person. We used that person. We set that person up. We were lying and manipulating. We are the controllers. We're the real controllers. They can't admit that. And they're going to hide it. And they're going to hide behind the person they have targeted. The person, the scapegoat, the one that they're targeting for everything, to make everything their fault. That's how they hide behind that person, which is usually the more introspective, more sensitive person. Usually, not always, but a lot of times. That's why I think a lot of people who have been abused by narcissists have such a hard time recovering, is because they are those type of people. They are the really sensitive, emotionally sensitive people who really, really don't want to see anyone hurting. And if we have hurt anyone, we try to make it right. If they've hurt anyone, well, that person deserved it, right? They justify it. They don't even care about you. They're disgusted by you. They hate you. It's very bewildering to us because you're like, huh? Like, it's just really weird. So another thing that makes them dangerous is they genuinely believe they are better than everybody around them. They believe they are more honest. They believe they are more truthful. They believe they are more righteous than the people around them. That's how they push it out. And they don't have, like I said, they don't seem to have the ability to self-reflect. Maybe a little bit, but, not really. You don't really see true, genuine humility. Another thing that makes them dangerous is they will lie for each other. If you're dealing with a narcissistic pack of people, a pack of narcissists, and they do exist, especially in, it seems, groups of, sometimes families even. If you're dealing with a group of narcissists, they are going to be lying for each other. They have each other's back, and they really do. So they'll play very, very dirty for each other. And so it's never, they will, while they're in a situation with their targeted person, they're going to be manipulating each other within the dynamic and stroking each other's egos constantly praising each other. Oh, you're so wonderful. That manipulation and constant praising that goes on between the narcissistic groups, how wonderful they are. And you know what I'm saying? I think some of you know what I'm saying. And they're encouraging each other to bully you, mock you, make fun of you, ostracize you. The scapegoat leaves the situation often suicidal, paralyzed by the situation. We're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. Many victims of narcissistic abuse develop CPTSD or PTSD, and we develop autoimmune diseases, and all sorts of things happen to the people who are unfortunately targeted by emotionally dishonest people who are operating in maximum pride and who are using you as the target, as a source of supply, to make themselves feel like kind of like gods in situations. And they really have that much pride. They really do, where they put themselves up there as these amazing, amazing people who, they flip the narrative where they say they were victimized by you. So it's very, very painful when you're sitting there going, I know I made some mistakes, but I know I wasn't trying to deliberately hurt other people, but they are deliberately trying to hurt and destroy you. So if you go back to them, a lot of us break contact and then we go back. What has been your experience when you have gone back to a narcissist or narcissistic group? What has been your experience? I'm actually really curious. If you could write in the comments below, have you broken contact? What was your experience going back to them? What happened? A lot of us get re-victimized. We're re-victimized all over again because they cannot see us and their only goal is to erase us so they don't ever have to deal with their own pathology and their own issues. So it's very painful to go through. Being a victim of narcissistic abuse is probably the most painful experience I think somebody can go through, because it's the annihilation of the self. And you can't prove it. You can't prove you've been victimized this way. Many of us would say, well, I would have rather just been beat up, you know, because then I could say, look, I got bruises. But instead, there's all these wounds, these internal wounds. We're just so much wounding inside of ourselves as they are just ripping us to shreds. So it's a very painful experience, narcissistic abuse. So I'm also curious if any of you have any other ideas or thoughts on what other ways make narcissists dangerous other than the things I have mentioned. So anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a really good day. Bye.